Hello everyone, this is Boricua Binks and welcome back to Let's Play Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations. In the last episode, we were in the last part of the trial, we started the final trial of this case. And yeah, we were talking to this gentleman, who apparently is a man right now. And we found out that he had this big fancy mirror in place that day, and maybe that's why Victor Kudo saw things reversed position-wise, but then we found a contradiction, and yet they're saying, he's a crazy old guy, so your contradiction is not that important. Blah. So anyway, yeah, thanks a lot, Godot. But now we are going to find out in more details about this mirror. Hello? Is everyone sitting comfortably? La mirror, it was in the middle of the restaurant, dividing the two halves. That's very big and in the way, so surprised they didn't mention that. There is only one seat from which you could have seen an image of la victim. That was la seat at the table next to la victim's. That was where the old man was sitting. After the terrible incident occurred, I moved the mirror so it was not in the way. But naturally, I did not touch anything else. Okay.
I see no problems with the explanation we have just heard. From the table next to the victims, Mr. Kudo could have seen the victim in the mirror.
What a naughty little coquette I am, confusing all the men like this.
Don't worry about it. We can keep up. Except for the guy breaking out in a cold sweat over there again.
Phoenix, please.
I hate that guy.
You said you didn't touch anything else apart from the mirror. Are you quite sure about that?
Volunteer, of course.
Very well, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please.
We'll see about that, Mr. Armstrong. Alright. In the middle of the restaurant. Only one seat. That was where the old man was sitting. Hold on. Hold on. First of all, he said he broke the vase at his seat. Second of all, let's look at the floor plans. Okay, and let's look at crime photo. Now, hold on. If he was sitting there, wouldn't the vase be broken? Oh, but which one is it? Is it... I don't know which statement. This one or... I think it's this one. He says he didn't touch anything else. But, we just saw the vase was... I think we're fine. Yeah, the vase was fine, so,
The piece of evidence contradicts with testimony we have heard, Your Honor.
The crime photo.
Yes, this photo clearly shows something that theoretically should not exist.
What on earth do you mean by that, Mr. Wright?
Should not exist. Huh. Sounds like you're describing yourself, Trite. Oh my god, Godot, you're so bad. You're bad, man. He's a bad boy. Ooh, he's so bad. I'll spank you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not into him like that. Alright.
Now then, if the defense would please clarify its statement. What is the something that should not exist in this photo?
the vase, Your Honor.
I think it's pretty obvious that this is what should not be in the picture.
The vase. What possible connection does that have with this witness's testimony?
Your Honor, I'm telling you that there should have been no vase on this table.
because it very clearly contradicts with this piece of evidence, which is the testimony. There is one thing that was clearly demonstrated by yesterday's testimony. Mr. Kudo broke the vase that was on the table where he was sitting. And yet, as the court can see, there is an unbroken vase on the table next to the victim. Why? Because Mr. Kudo was not, in fact, sitting at the table next to the victim at all.
Objection!
There we go.
Don't be an idiot, Trite. That's impossible. That seat's the only one Kudo could have seen the victim's reflection from.
Exactly.
Ugh.
There is only one conclusion we can draw from this contradiction. There was no mirror in Tribulations that day. Your testimony, Mr. Armstrong, is an elaborate lie.
Mon Dieu!
Objection!
Don't try to confuse the court, Trite. Obviously, the witness cleaned up the vase, while the police were taking their time getting to the crime scene.
Unfortunately, Mr. Godot, that doesn't quite work for me. Mr. Armstrong already testified to the contrary. In his own words,
I did not touch anything else except the mirror.
a delayed reaction.
Well, witness, what do you have to say for yourself?
Look at what do you do to those poor roses? I was right. There was no mirror in the restaurant that day.
In light of this revelation, we return back to the original problem. Why did the victim have an earpiece in an ear in which he couldn't hear?
Ha! You only get one shot in life. There's no turning back.
One shot, one opportunity. Would you capture it? Just let it go. Or wait, no, just let it slip. I think that's the lyrics. I haven't heard that song in a long time. But yeah, I used to listen to Eminem a lot. He was cool. He was really cool.
If you want to claim that the mirror wasn't there, Trite, then this problem is all yours. How do you explain what the old man saw?
If I can answer this, then I'll be that much closer to the truth. I can feel it. Are you going to be okay? Can you really solve this contradiction, Nick?
There's more than just this one contradiction, Maya.
What do you mean?
Remember what Maggie told us?
There was another man at the victim's table. And there was a sample CD on the victim's table. It all flies in the face of Mr. Kudo's testimony. And I think I know the reason why nothing in this case is adding up.
Well, Mr. Wright, let's hear your answer.
It's quite a shocker. When I was first playing this, like the first time, I was like, whoa! But now it's like, it makes total sense. But at the time, it's like, if you're just playing this your first time, it kind of comes out of nowhere. And it's like, the pieces add up, but it's not something that you would just think of on your own that easily. You really, really, it's a tricky, as much as I hate this case, I think this whole setup, the way everything is going, is actually pretty interesting. Pretty cool.
Yes, Your Honor. The reason behind all the contradictions in Mr. Kudo's testimony is simple.
He did not make a mistake. The ear doctor made a mistake. The victim was a phony. It's the only thing that really makes sense in out of these choices. So yeah, that helps you. But it, like, if this was an option and there was two other options that made sense, I don't know how many people would actually pick that. But it does make sense if you really think about it. It's so tricky. I love it. But yeah.
This case is riddled with contradictions. Yet there is one very simple answer that clears them all up.
And what is that?
The incident Mr. Kudo witnessed and the incident the victim experienced were two completely different events.
What?
Yes, the victim that Mr. Kudo saw wasn't Mr. Glenn Elg at all. It was an imposter, a phony pretending to be Mr. Elg. Obviously, unlike the victim, there was nothing wrong with the imposter's left eardrum. That's how he ended up wearing the earpiece in his left ear by mistake. Sometimes, as much as we give Phoenix a hard time, you gotta admit, he's pretty genius when he figures these things out. It's like, whoa, really?
Order! Order in the court! Settle down or I'll clear the courtroom.
Quiet, Gramps. Why don't you clear out of here, huh?
Wait, what? You just said that to the judge?
What did you say?
How dare you?
Trite. Are you saying that what Mr. Kudo saw was a setup? Yes. Someone pretended to be Glenn Elg and acted out the whole coffee poisoning. All for the express purpose of creating a witness out of one Mr. Victor Kudo. Get real, Trite. Why would anyone want to do that?
Isn't it obvious? The thing Mr. Kudo was most insistent about in his testimony was the serving girl put the poison, yeah.
It's so hard to believe, but...
There was one and only one reason to show Mr. Kudo this fake poisoning. To show Maggie Bird in the act of poisoning the coffee.
Are you insinuating that the waitress in the old man's story was a fake as well? It's true that there were no other customers in the restaurant at the time, but... It's also true that the chef was there. He would have noticed what was happening.
That's right. Well, witness. If your restaurant really was the scene of such theatrics, you would have known about it, correct?
Oh la la, this is most difficult for me. No, it's quite simple. All you have to do is testify. You are under oath, after all. Was there, in fact, a phony at Tribulations that day? The defense demands that Mr. Armstrong tell the whole truth about what happened.
The defense's request for additional testimony is accepted. You will accurately explain in detail the events in the restaurant that day.
Oh, oui. You better tell the truth, fool. La victim, Monsieur Elg. He came to my restaurant alone. I remember the old man arrived not long after him. There were no other customers. When he got word he won the lottery, short for Monsieur. Monsieur Elg became very excited. It was approximately 5 minutes later that the poisoning incident occurred. No, there was no time for a phony to do the acting. Stop lying.
Just so we're clear, there was no mirror in the restaurant after all.
Je vous demande pardon. Forgive me, Your Honor. I lied because I wanted this mess to be cleared up quickly.
What you have just done is commit perjury, Mr. Armstrong.
He continues to do so, you judge.
I will decide how to punish you later.
Oui. That's a federal offense in real court, you know?
For now, we will hear your cross-examination, Mr. Wright.
He took that perjury charge a bit too well. But I'm guessing he'll be in more serious trouble after this cross-examination. Uh-huh. Here we go. Okay, you came to your restaurant alone. Uh-huh. There were no other customers. I'm very excited. 5 minutes later. There was no time. Something has to be... Hold on. I think something has to be pressed. I just... Hmm. 10 minutes. Died between 1:30 and 2:30. Came to a restaurant alone. I don't know which ones I need to press.
So your only customers were Mr. Kudo and the victim. How many times do you need to ask the same thing, Trite? You'd never catch me drinking the same blend twice.
Huh?
You're trying to establish the presence of a phony victim in the restaurant, but you're wasting your time. You can't grind birdseed to make coffee if you catch my drift.
Okay. Well, there's a hole in his testimony somewhere, I'm sure of it. Okay. I'm very excited.
Did you see him?
No, I was in the kitchen, but I heard him. I remember him shouting, "Yes, $500,000!
Presumably the defendant heard that too then, correct?
Maggie? She looked like a poor little frightened dove.
And what about Mr. Kudo?
The old man choked on some bird seed that got stuck in his throat.
Birdseed, oh my god, Kudo, please.
It seems we now have yet another incident on our hands.
Okay, it's approximately 5 minutes later.
And what were you doing at that point? Without any customers, you must have had time to kill.
I am a multi-talented woman, monsieur. See? Now he says woman. You must be,
Okay, whatever. Sorry? What do you mean?
There is la renowned chef John Armstrong and the tragic poet Clarice Armstrong.
Clarice!
Oui, I was writing a poem, an angry tale of a chef in $500,000 of debt.
Clarice.
Cooking for a man who won $500,000 on the lottery.
That music. Stop using Pearl's music for him.
It is called Pourquoi. It means why. Perhaps I should recite it for la court?
Please don't.
Okay. There's no time.
You mean you contacted the police as soon as the incident occurred?
I asked the old man to call from the payphone.
By your own argument, Trite. The purpose of this phony victim's performance was so the old man would see it. In other words, once the incident occurred, this opportunity would completely disappear.
Indeed.
Bien, it seems la shadow of doubt has been lifted, n'est-ce pas? I guess Mr. Armstrong is connected to this case, huh?
Absolutely. Someone was impersonating Mr. Elg, and I refused to believe he was oblivious. He was there the whole time, after all.
But if you're right, wouldn't Maggie have noticed too?
She fell unconscious when the incident occurred, remember?
Ah, you mean that's when the phony staged his act?
We'll know for sure once I find a hole in this testimony.
Okay. Okay, let's just start from the beginning then.
Was he alone at his table as well?
Mais oui, I saw him from the kitchen.
Yet the defendant, Miss Bird, remembers it differently. She swears there was another man at the victim's table. Here we go. Ha! Unfortunately for you, Trite. Yesterday's witness also testified that the victim was alone. You know, seeing you squirm like that reminds me of a certain coffee's bittersweet bite. What kind of coffee has he been drinking?
It's not coffee, it's love. It's love that's bittersweet.
Hearing Maya say that makes her seem wise all of a sudden. Wait, what? Who loves who? New shipping? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I think I just gotta press everything? By old man, you mean Victor Kudo, correct?
Oui, it comes often for my special coffee.
I drank your coffee once, Mr. Armstrong. It's special, I'll give you that. It's worth a sip just for the experience.
Oh, you make me so happy, monsieur. You are most welcome anytime.
I said it was worth one sip, and nothing more. So old Mr. Kudo arrived at the restaurant around the same time as the victim. Maybe I should ask about his arrival in more detail. Okay, what time was it? Out of curiosity, about what time was it when Mr. Kudo arrived?
Oh no, I cannot remember, monsieur.
I believe we were told by a witness yesterday.
Pressing at 2:25 p.m. by a kind of scary old man.
Does that perhaps jog your memory, witness?
The incident happened about 20 minutes after he arrived. So the victim must have arrived between 2 p.m. and 2:10 p.m. noon.
Just after 2, huh?
Thank you for your help in jogging my memory, monsieur. You are wonderful.
I can't sit here all the time and do nothing now, can I? The time of day will be added to the witness's testimony.
Oui, monsieur judge. Everything I do it for you.
Merci bien. That's French, isn't it?
I'm glad at least one person is in a good mood.
He's even humming a song to himself.
Yeah, the judge was actually useful right there.
Okay. I remember the old man arrived not long after him, just after 2 p.m.
There we go. Okay, we got you now. We got you. Because a certain thing happens. Ooh, wrong one. Where is it? Where is it? Here. 10 minutes. 1:30. There. I'm afraid I finally got you, Mr. Armstrong.
Quoi? What do you mean?
At the time in question, the victim was listening to the radio with his earpiece. The show he was listening to was Millionaire Radio. Each week they announced the winning number of a $500,000 ticket lottery. Or lottery ticket, sorry.
Oui, that must be la show Monsieur L was listening to.
I can't see any problem with this testimony, Mr. Wright.
I wonder. You say the victim arrived at your restaurant after 2 p.m., correct?
Oui, oui, I am sure of it. I remember it perfectly now. I know it was that time because I had just finished serving the lunch menu.
Get to the point, Trite, if you have one. That show is broadcast live at 1:30 p.m. and it claims to be the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life.
It's on the air at 1:30.
Now, supposedly, the victim made some noise when it was announced that he had won. And yet, I don't believe his cry of joy could have occurred after 2 p.m. because the show had already finished more than 30 minutes earlier by that point in time.
No!
This victim we've been told about has done nothing but the impossible. Listening to the radio with a ruptured eardrum, catching a show that was already over, there was only one conclusion you can draw from these facts. This victim was an imposter, acting out the poisoning 30 minutes after the real murder. That's a short amount of time to come up with that plan. Yes, there were 2 Glen Elgs in Tribulations that day. The real Glen Elg now dead, having been poisoned by the real killer, and the phony Glen Elg acting out the events for Mr. Kudo to witness.
It certainly seems that way. I mean, if that wasn't the case, how could you explain the time discrepancy?
quite a performance, Trite. You were almost on a roll. But sadly, you lack the rock-hard foundation of rhythm to build your song.
What is this? Music Theory 101?
Let's recap. According to your imaginative theory, it's now just after 2 p.m. The phony elk is performing a play for the benefit of Mr. Kudo. How do you explain then where the real Glen Elk is?
I don't believe I have to spell this out for the court. However, at that time the real Glen Elk was already dead.
That's certainly the obvious conclusion.
Thank you, Trite. That's exactly what I was hoping you would say.
What?
Now I presume you can prove this theory of yours. Can you explain where the missing corpse went to?
The missing corpse?
According to the old man's testimony, there was only one other customer there. If that customer was the phony Glen Elg, then where did the killer hide the body of the real victim?
Nah.
The prosecution has a valid point, Mr. Wright. If your theory is to stand up to examination by the court, you must provide us with proof by answering the prosecution's question. Where did the killer hide the body?
Where did he hide it indeed, guys? Well, that's where we'll be leaving it for next time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.